Tonight on the Fanatic Forum, we've got murders, madmen, demons, and all kinds of spooky things. What's good checking out? What is really worth checking out this Halloween season? Out on streaming, out in the movie theaters. We got all that and more coming up right after this. Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Buehler. We got all kinds of cool Halloween stuff to talk about this week. What's worth checking out, on, streaming, out in the movie theaters, all kinds of stuff. And, there's some good, there's some bad. It's all up to, your opinion, obviously, too. But we want to hear all about, your opinions, what you're looking forward to, what you want to check out, all kinds of that, maybe some favorites from the past. All kinds of good. Because, I love the Halloween season. I love watching horror movies, good and bad. I've seen a lot of film, folks, and not all of it's been great. But nonetheless, it's been, I enjoy the season. So, it's fun stuff. So I've been binging a lot of things, watching as much as I can here this week. And, got a lot of good stuff to talk about. But, of course, I've got some new books as well, new comics, and you can't go wrong with new books here. So, got some plenty of good stuff to share with y'all here. From Marvel, I got a couple of good selections here. If you've not been reading Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil, folks, you've really been missing out. He's been writing the book now for, I guess it's been almost 2 years, maybe a little bit more now. So, of course, maybe there's a little bit of catching up to do. But then they did the whole Devil's Reign storyline where you had, Wilson Fisk was, mayor of New York City. He outlawed vigilantes, all that sort of stuff here. So now that that's over, there's a new run they've just started here that's only 4 issues deep right now. This is issue 4 of this. This is a really big turning point for the series going on right now. So really what's been going on post Devil's Reign is that Daredevil and Elektra have decided that they're going to reform the Fist. Now, if you're not familiar exactly what the Fist is basically the organization that opposes the Hand. And the Hand, of course, the old, undead evil ninjas, they've been, plaguing Daredevil and the Marvel Universe. And, of course, they've been in part of the Daredevil show and the Defenders show as well. They've gotten around. They're bad news. So things are kind of amping up in the war, basically, between good and evil on this kind of particular side of the Marvel Universe. So Daredevil and Elektra have basically decided it's kind of necessary to reform this group that literally will be opposing them and trying to take them down, destroy them. Daredevil has also learned recently that the current general, the Fist of the Beast, so to speak, for the Hand, is none other than the Punisher, Frank Castle. So they've always been at odds, and there's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on. They haven't had a big confrontation just yet. That's coming up. Just some really cool stuff. But this particular issue has an interesting turn to it. So maybe you'll see. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but you got to check it out. Beautiful art. Just absolute greatness here. Speaking of greatness here, totally been loving the Benjamin Percy run on Ghost Rider right now, bringing Johnny Blaze back into the role. Of course, Johnny recently had some issues with some sort of like demonic parasite that was kind of, tampering with the bond that he and the Rider have. So Johnny, he would turn into the Rider, but wouldn't remember what was going on, would kind of be, very lost in things. Maybe he couldn't turn when he wanted to. So it was affecting all sorts of stuff, but also, evil within the Marvel Universe, was also kind of, running rampant, so to speak, without Ghost Rider kind of, doing his business, so to speak. So that seems to be, cured for now. So now we're kind of moved on to the next phase of the storyline here, which is basically there is a paranormal investigations division of the FBI, and there's an agent who's been around since issue 1, who's been kind of, keeping an eye on Johnny, seeing what's going on here. And now maybe we're trying to recruit Johnny Blaze into the FBI. But yeah, there's a cool new villain that's being introduced. Of course, as basically, Blackheart is kind of our main foil in this whole series right now. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. Very cool if you're a Ghost Rider fan. Absolutely love it. So definitely worth checking out. A selection for DC this week here. I've been championing this series from the beginning, and unfortunately, this is the final issue of Jurassic League number 6 here. Which really, this is just reimagining the Justice League as dinosaurs. It was prehistoric era, and so you've got, prehistoric versions, also their classic villains like the Joker and Darkseid and Reverse Flash and, Black Manta and all sorts of stuff like that. So, but just, Philip Kennedy Johnson does the art on this one here, or kind of, does the art for the covers. He's kind of the brainchild behind this, but Juan Gideon does the art for the interiors, but their art styles are very similar. So if you're a fan of Johnson's art anyway, Juan Gideon stuff is great. So, but this is an absolutely fun series. So I'm so sad that's over with, but they kind of tease for maybe some more. So I hope there is. Yeah. Again, just a nice, again, a nice little sandbox miniseries. Doesn't connect to any continuity or anything like that. Just good fun. Lots of indies this week worth checking out. So, of course, I always like championing my indies here, but I've got 3 number ones here that are worth looking at. Aftershock brings us the next volume of Chicken Devil. The first volume is really fun, worth looking at. Essentially, Chicken Devil is best told if Death Wish was also a comedy and Charles Bronson ran a franchise of chicken restaurants, like fried chicken stuff. But, it gets kind of madcap. He thinks his family is murdered. Maybe, maybe that's not quite true. But then basically there was a lot of loose ends that were left open in the first series. And we're just kind of ramping things up for the second series here. So yeah, if you have not read the first volume of Chicken Devil, highly recommend checking it out. Just really fun art too. Really just kind of like, good faces there, but just kind of a little grittiness to it as well here. But yeah, really enjoyed this, but Brian Bucatello and Mattia Monaco, the creative team on this one here. But yeah, really cool stuff here. This one came out from Image here for all of our samurai and any anime kind of fans here. Hitomi is really, really good here. This is definitely a feudal Japan revenge story here. Basically, young Hitomi, her parents were murdered in front of her by a samurai whose skin is black as beetroot. So she's on a path to revenge now that she's grown up here. The art is absolutely beautiful in here. So yeah, looks. Actually, there's our there's our samurai in question here. But yeah, just absolutely beautiful stuff here. So HS Tack is the writer on here, and Isabella Matanzi or Mazzanti. I'm sorry. Are the creative team on this one here. Just highly, highly recommend checking this one out here. Next up here, let's see here. All right. Stuff in right here. Next up for our new number ones here is Year Zero, Volume 0 here. Unfortunately, Benjamin Percy was not available to do the next volume of this. He did the first 2, but this is really definitely a zombie story here. Yes, get my finger off the fellas here. This is a zombie story here, so there is some gore here, so buyer beware. But it was really cool because you kind of get like all these, it's not like a Walking Dead sort of thing. You kind of get all these like separate stories, people from very different walks of life, all kind of having the one common thread that basically they're in the midst of a zombie apocalypse. A Eventually, some of them do kind of get together briefly, but it's not like a team trap atmosphere. They just happen to cross paths, whatnot. But yeah, both the first two volumes are definitely worth looking at if you like your zombie stuff here. But finally, we get some answers in this volume here. It's, of course, a 5-issue series from Daniel Klaus and Goran Suzuka, which, Goran's art is amazing, so definitely worth looking at there. We finally get some answers to maybe why this is happening here. So, again, very much worth checking out here. Kind of an original take on a zombie apocalypse sort of things. Like I said, you're not getting so much of the human drama. You get a little bit of that, but you definitely get a lot of good zombie action in there. So, like the first volume, basically, one of the characters is a Yakuza assassin who is on a job as the pandemic starts breaking out, and so he takes care of his thing. But then all of a sudden, he's kind of like, "Oh, great! I'm now in the midst of zombie war here." So yeah, he's kind of a cool character. There's an Afghani woman who's basically kind of like in a possibly like a terrorist camp. You can't quite tell. Almost kind of seems like she's a prisoner, and then basically she hooks up with a bunch of other women who are kind of the same realm, and they're kind of just roaming the desert, killing zombies. So again, AWA does some really cool stuff. Definitely worth checking out here. Next, if you guys have not been reading Do a Powerbomb, you got to be checking this out here. Wrestling fans, even if you're not a wrestling fan, this is still just such a cool book here. Such fun. Just taking wrestling to even more, crazy heights than it ever could be on TV here. Because unfortunately, the wrestlers involved have found out they are in a real tournament. The runners of this tournament that they're in, kind of a interdimensional, intergalactic tournament sort of thing. He doesn't realize that wrestling is a staged, performance. That it's it's not 100% real. The people aren't really trying to murder and kill each other. Yeah, so things get real in this one. But yeah, very cool stuff here. Last but not least, Liam Sharp's Star Hinge. This is the 4th issue here. This is just such a beautiful book. It's definitely a little bit science class. Of course, this issue is definitely going back more to the fantasy side of this as well. Definitely playing around with kind of the, we're in the future trying to restore magic. We go back to the past to do so, and now it basically seems to be kind of like we're playing around with the Arthurian legends, maybe the origins of where that sort of thing came from, the origins of Stonehenge, whatever else. But the awesome thing with Liam's art is that, of course, a lot of the book looks like this on the front cover here, but then he's got like a few other art styles that we see here. Like here's one other. I mean, this is the same guy. So yeah, I love this front image here. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. Anywho, but it's absolutely love Liam's art, and his writing is, like I say, it's a complex story, but the way he's breaking it down, it's easy to follow. So I appreciate that much as well. So yeah, again, I'm just really enjoying this series. Highly recommend checking it out. All right, we're going to take a short break real quick, and then we got some spooky stuff to talk about here. And like I said, there's some good things to discuss here. So we'll get back to that in just a second.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
All right, folks, you guys ready for the spooky stuff here? Of course, it's the Halloween season. If you're a fan of horror movies, this is your time of the year. So yeah, it is a wonderful time. We're getting a lot of good stuff this season. Of course, there's been a lot of other horror movies that have come out earlier in the year. I didn't get to see The Invitation, which is a vampire movie, which it looked good. I heard some good reviews. So fingers crossed to get around to that one pretty soon here. But yeah, Nope, of course, saw that one over the summer. that was worth checking out. It has not hit streaming just yet. I kind of wish it would get there. Come on, Jordan, let's go. But yeah, that was definitely worth checking out. The next, Jordan Peele movie, because he's kind of the next M. Night Shyamalan. He's always got a little kind of a gimmick and a mystery, the things to figure out. So yeah, it's not just scaring you. You got to use your brain in his movies too. But I love that stuff. Of course, M. Night Shyamalan's got a new movie coming out pretty soon. Knock at the Cabin. Saw a trailer for that while I was seeing one of the movies on my list here. It looks amazing. Kind of a basically, we've got a gay couple and their daughter are kind of having a nice, looks like they're going off into the woods, having a vacation at this cabin they've rented. I don't know. I'm not sure what the situation is. But they're going off the woods, having a nice vacation, and as they're having a vacation, they're approached by 4 strangers who apparently tell them that they're there to prevent the end of the world. So they've all come from different walks of life, and some of the I think one of the actors is Rupert Grint, who played Ron Weasley, and then Dave Bautista is one of the other people in there. So it's like, thanks. So very, very interesting premise for the trailer there. So yeah, Knock at the Cabin. I think it's coming out, I guess, later. I don't remember, maybe next year or something. I don't know. So Shyamalan's been on a roll recently. So. And nonetheless, here, let me share with some of my favorites and maybe some not so favorites here. Some very good fare here. So, streaming stuff here, definitely worth checking out here. Werewolf by Night on Disney Plus. Of course, I'm a little biased on this one, seeing as it's a comic book, but it is fantastic. The movie is entirely in black and white. So the one thing I love about it is you can get away with a lot more gore, even in Disney, if everything's in black and white. So this is bloody. So maybe not so much for the little kiddos, but it's still for the most part a PG-13 sort of movie. Maybe close to an R, but yeah, it would mostly be for the violence and the gore. But nonetheless, very fun here. You definitely get a good taste of the monster side of the Marvel Universe, maybe with some more to come. But it is 100% a standalone special. That's kind of this new thing that Marvel's going to start doing now, where they have these special presentations. This is the first one they're doing. So these are basically going to be shorter than a feature-length film, but maybe a little more than your average, episode of television. So this one clocks in about 50 minutes, so it's a little less than an hour, but it is well worth your time. But yeah, lots of fun. The world has fallen in love with a big shambling mound named Ted. So you gotta love that. Hey, good to see you, George. Thank you, Johnny. Good to see you, and thank you for sharing. I always appreciate that, there. And Werewolf by Night was 99% practical effects. Yes, I know, and you can tell. It's just amazing, great performances, lots of fun for the Marvel fans for getting into the monster side of things. But if you're kind of a newcomer to the Marvel stuff, or you don't want to get bogged down with a lot of things, this is, like I said, 100% standalone. You don't have to watch anything else before this. So just enjoy. Especially, it's a little bit of a nod to kind of the old Universal monster sort of stuff here. So Johnny's saying you're a new gold standard for the MCU. Yeah, what I would absolutely love is if maybe this started to become a annual thing, like they would just do a Halloween special within the MonsterVerse like once a year, and all those were in black and white. That would be cool. That's just my thing there. But yeah, so I'd love to see this. But supposedly the next special presentation we're going to get is the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. Haven't seen any trailers or heard any more news about that, but apparently it's either done or close to being finished, because they're working on that at the same time they're working on Guardians 3. So we're supposed to get it this Christmas. I don't know. We didn't get a lot of time or, much heads up for Werewolf by Night before, we started getting trailers and the announcements. It's just kind of like, boom, there it is. So anyway, so yeah, I would absolutely love to see, like an annual Halloween special coming out of Disney Plus. So yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So fingers crossed, we'll see. But Werewolf by Night's been getting a fantastic response from the fans. from horror fans, whatever else. So it's of course directed by Michael Giacchino, who also wrote and did the score. So this is a man of many talents. So so of course he has been doing movie scores for quite some time. I wasn't aware that he was a filmmaker as well, but hey, that's more power to him. So I love his score for the Batman. So yeah, this just absolutely worked. But Johnny can't stick around too long. He's got a date with some ghosts. Well, happy touring. Hope you have a good crowd and get more 5-star reviews. So yeah, if you're in the Nashville area, you got to look up John Pica's Ghost Tours, because it's a lot of fun. And sometimes you might you might see a little something spooky. So yeah, it'll be a good time. Of course, I think he does some other date tours as well too, where people go on. I knew he did one for Match recently, where people were on their first dates and they went on a ghost tour. So that's a cool date for me as far as I'm concerned. I know my wife would love that too. So, all right, some more streaming stuff here to talk about. This is on Netflix here. This has definitely been getting a lot of talk, and I binged the heck out of this. I'm talking about Dahmer. Ooh, that's some creepy eyes there. Yes, this is based off the book Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Of course, this is the Ryan Murphy series. You know him from Nip Tuck, from American Horror Story. This is an excellent 10-episode series. It really is. It's a little different than some of the other Dahmer stuff that's come out. There have been a lot of documentaries. There have been other, series and movies and stuff like that about, the character himself. But this one takes some different choices and focuses on different aspects of the case, of the chain of events, whatever else. So yeah, it's not as gory as you would think. There is some gory parts to the series. Don't want to, completely mislead you on that. But yeah, there's some different choices that are made there. So I highly recommend it. Evan Peters' performance is creepy as all get out. He just, I was in high school when the Dahmer case, happened and was, all over the media. And yeah, Evan Peters he became Dahmer. He needs to get an Emmy nod for this one and hopefully put this guy away for the rest of his life. But Niecy Nash, who plays Mrs. Cleveland, his next door neighbor, who, basically at the time when he was arrested, and she suspected a lot of things, knew some stuff was going on. The cops weren't listening to her. But yeah, so she just had an excellent performance. There's some really good, like Richard Jenkins and Penelope Ann Miller are in the movie or in the series as well, playing his parents. Molly Ringwald's the stepmother. Just excellent performances throughout the series. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I binged this thing in like 2 or 3 days. So it's very compelling, very creepy, but not a lot of slasher serial killer stuff. It's almost very procedural as well. So again, a different take on things. One other streaming movie I want to talk about here, and if you guys haven't checked this one out here, this is my word of warning to you. Hellraiser, we have a remake that's on Hulu now. This went straight to streaming. This is unlike Halloween Ends, which I'm going to be talking about here shortly. This one, yeah, there may be a reason why it went straight to streaming. So here's the good and the bad of it. The good is this. The new design on the Cenobites, or the Cenobites, whatever you want to call them, I thought was amazing. Their performances are really good, very eerie. Unfortunately, you don't get to really see your first good glimpse and first great scene in the movie until well past the 45-minute mark. It's full of people that you don't care about, and you really kind of want to just get to the Cenobite stuff, and there's not enough of them and too much of what you don't want in the movie. The story is not great, so yeah, it almost kind of, it's not as bad as some of the later sequels for Hellraiser, because for me, like the first 2 Hellraisers are fantastic. They're horror gold. The other 40 odd, Hellraiser, sequels that have been some are worse than others. But yeah, for the most part, I just kind of stick with the first two. And I kind of compare this remake as, some of the others as well. But again, like I said, love the Cenobites, love their performances, love the new looks. We've got, Pinhead. Of course, Pinhead's played by a female in this movie, but that's not a big deal because it's still Pinhead and still, person who's obviously very much tortured. But the new looks are kind of like they turn that up a little bit more. There's a little bit more of the mythology that is explained in the movie, so that's beneficial. But again, I just, not great. Not great. Good, not great. And I'm being very nice to call it good. But yeah, so proceed if you want. But yeah, again, I would, not a big, would not 100% recommend the new Hellraiser on Hulu. So there you go. All right. Our last of the streaming fare here. Now, of course, this is streaming and in theaters, but this is Halloween Ends. I'm going to be very brief on this one, seeing as this literally just dropped today. So this currently is in theaters right now. It's on Peacock streaming right now. So if you're a Peacock subscriber, bonus for you. You don't have to leave the house. But yeah, I'm not going to say very much of this one at all because I do not want to spoil anything. I did like this. This will cause some discussion, much like the rest of the trilogy has. I can see where some people may not like this, but I did. As this trilogy goes, that's kind of how they've established their story and how things work. This is a logical ending to the series, I think. Of course, I'm going to see this again with my wife because she hasn't got to see this yet either. So, but yeah, so again, like I said, yeah, I didn't love it as much. The very first Halloween of this new trilogy, I really liked it. But this one, I liked it, didn't love it. So for Halloween Ends. So I will say it's much better than Halloween Kills. So if you did not care at all for Halloween Kills, please give this one a chance. It does kind of have a bit of separation between the two movies. So like the first Halloween and Halloween Kills are literally on the same night. This one, there is a bit of a time jump. So, but yeah, again, worth checking out. An interesting entry into the Halloween franchise. And another interesting little tidbit is that Jamie Lee Curtis has actually signed an official document saying this is her last film. She will never, ever, ever do a Halloween film ever again. Now, that's not to say that another, Halloween movie will ever come out, that another movie featuring Michael Myers as the killer will come out. That's, they're going to, the studio, the producers, they're going to do what they want with that sort of thing like that. So we may see him once more on the silver screen. But this does end the Laurie Strode, story for good. So I'm not going to say either way how it ends, but this does have a definitive ending. So there you go. But again, like I said, I liked it, didn't love it, but I'm going to see it another time. So we'll see how it goes with a second viewing here. But it is definitely worth checking out. So very interesting entry here. All right, so a couple of straight to these are actually in theaters. You have to, you can't stream these, or you may be able to run them. I don't know. Anyway, so gotta check these out in the movie theaters. The one that's been in the theaters for a little bit longer, that is actually probably closer to streaming here, is Barbarian. This was a really, really cool flick here. If you want to wait, I think it's going to be streaming on the 24th. So, but it's worth checking out in theaters because it sets a good atmosphere. But if you've seen the trailer, this is basically a young woman played by Georgina Campbell is pulling up to her Airbnb that she's rented. And it's weird because the house is very nice, very well lit, but it looks like there's nothing else around it. Like maybe the neighborhood's kind of bombed out or no one else is living there, but just kind of an odd thing. But she pulls up to the Airbnb, goes in there, and it looks like that someone is actually already inside the house. Maybe somebody else has, rented the place and there's a mistake or whatever else. And this renter is played by Bill Skarsgård. So there you go. And they get in the house and oh, hey, something's, maybe it's a mix up, whatever else. We'll try to figure this out and that sort of thing. So he does the gentlemanly thing. You take the bed. I'll, sleep out here on the couch. And so next morning, Skarsgård's gone. All the stuff's still there, but he's gone. So she's looking around the house, finds a secret, passageway within the house, and things amp up from there. So I will say the less you know about this movie, the better. All I've told you is what's in the trailer. And that's all I knew walking into the movie. But there are a lot of cool twists and turns in this movie. If you notice in the movie poster here that Justin Long is in the movie, he was not seen in the trailer, but he does play a crucial part in the movie. So, but it is very cool. It's a very clever sort of thing. And a great ending song. It's kind of one of those, I've got a episode of Brian Renfro's Movie Meltdown podcast coming up. And if you like your movie talking about all movie things, not just horror stuff, he talks about everything, definitely check out Movie Meltdown at moviemeltdown.com. There's an episode coming up pretty soon here where we're talking soundtracks specifically to the ends of horror movies. So we've talked before about soundtracks, the best ending songs for a movie. The credits are rolling or the end of the movie's coming here. And we got a song going on here, and so that's what we're talking about. So this episode we specifically do horror movies, and I do mention a little bit of Barbarian because it's got a great ending song. it's kind of a kick in the pants too. So yeah, nonetheless, enjoy that one here. Last but not least here, got to talk about this one here, folks. Probably the best horror movie in theaters out right now. I'm talking about Smile. And you guys have seen the viral marketing on this one here, especially a couple weeks ago at a few different baseball games. You had people in the crowds giving this creepy look and wearing T-shirts that said Smile and freaking out the other people in the stands here. But yeah, this movie, talk about atmosphere, tension, dread, whatever else. This one has it all. There is some gore in here. I will warn you about that one here. And it has a supernatural link to it, but it is absolutely incredible. I cannot say enough good things about this movie here. And the really cool thing is the lead actress is Sosie Bacon. I didn't realize she was a Bacon until the credits started rolling, but that is the daughter of Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick, not the lady you saw there in the movie poster. That's a different character. But she is the daughter of Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick. And this is her first kind of she's done lots of other movies and TV, but this is kind of her first lead, like she's got the whole thing. And man, she is incredible. Great performances. The way she does terror, how she's going through the sort of thing and feeling it all. Man, kudos to her performance, man. Because this, like I said, there's some great jump scares, just some very creepy dread sort of things like that. You're just kind of just waiting for stuff to happen. Yeah, so I don't want to spoil too much to you there, but yeah, highly, highly, highly recommend checking out Smile. It is in theaters right now, and like I said, it is the best horror movie out there right now. So top of the list there, folks. Could not, that's. Yeah. Love it. And we actually saw it at our local Escape theater, which is has the big crazy 4K screens and complete Dolby surround sound. So that movie especially, see that in a nice theater, see Smile in a nice theater that has really good sound. That helps the experience. I think that's the way to do it there. So yeah. Can't say enough good stuff about that one. That's going to be a buy when it comes out on the old Blu-ray there, because that's going to the library. It is a good one there, and like I said, just lots of good creepy and dread, and just you're waiting for bad stuff to happen sort of movie here, and can't get enough of that one there. But yeah, of course, what are some of your favorites? That's stuff that's out right now. I know there's a movie out about the Spirit of Halloween stores. But it's a horror movie, but it's about a store. Yeah, so I guess we're waiting for a science fiction movie about Bed Bath & Beyond. So anyway, but an interesting thing I heard about it, they filmed the movie in an old Toys R Us. So the Spirit of Halloween stores seem to inhabit old closed down things. So why not film a movie in an old store? Yeah, it's a full circle thing there. So haven't seen that one yet, but I'm at least curious. Because again, even if it's a terrible thing, I still kind of want to see it. So Just out of curiosity. I've seen a lot of bad stuff, folks, but I've seen a lot of good stuff too. But yeah, I'm very curious what some of your favorites are, especially some of the old favorites here. Got to share one of my old time classics here, the 1986 Trick or Treat, not to be confused with the 2005 anthology movie Trick or Treat, which is also amazing. But yeah, there's a very short list of heavy metal horror movies. You've got Rocktober Blood, Black Roses. There's a couple others I know. But again, a very short list of heavy metal horror movies. But to me, this is the cream of the crop here. And of course, I love that in American audiences, it was called Trick or Treat, which doesn't really make too much sense. I mean, one of the songs on the soundtrack is called Trick or Treat, but like, it doesn't, I mean, it takes place around the Halloween season, but that's not really a 100% important thing. But then in foreign audiences, it's also called Ragman, which makes great sense because the character played by Mark Price, from Family Ties, his nickname is Ragman. The nickname he kind of gives himself. It's also called Death at 33 Revolutions per Minute, which also makes sense because basically we're talking about a record that he plays backwards to resurrect a dead rock star. So it's like both the foreign titles of Ragman and Death at 33 RPM make great sense, and Trick or Treat, not so much. But they released it closer to Halloween in '86, and I mean it's got some fun stunt casting with Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne being in the movie, and those are the draws to me. And yeah, so it is cheesy, it is bad, but God, I love it. It is currently unavailable kind of everywhere. It is on YouTube. There's a couple different people who've uploaded it, so thank you very much. Matter of fact, one of those is the foreign version, so the title card comes up as Ragman. So those guys know a nice little fun thing there. But so it is on YouTube, so you can watch it there for free. But if you find it on DVD, it's been out of print for quite some time. There was some crappy copies that were released. VHS. Wow. I mean, it was out on VHS. That's how I initially saw it. But it's, a little hard to find there. I think in Germany, they did like a nice big special 2-disc Blu-ray and, try to remaster it and put up some other special stuff, but it only came out in Germany. And apparently there's some issues, there's some rights issues with the music. So it's kind of a very limited edition thing, but yeah. It's one of my old-time guilty pleasures. I've loved it since I was a kid, but it's probably my favorite Halloween movie. Not my favorite horror movie, but for the time of the year, I watch Trick or Treat at least once a year. So past several years, I've had to watch it on YouTube. So there you go. But I do have a DVD copy, but I don't want to mess it up because of the fact is I may never see this thing. I don't know why there's music rights issues, because while there's like 3 or 4 songs that aren't done by the band Fastway, the rest of the soundtrack is done by the same band. And this soundtrack has been, actually, that's the funny thing, is that the soundtrack is still widely available. You can stream it on any Spotify, Apple, whatever you're on. If you're the old school media inclined, you can still get it on CD. I mean, I don't get it. Soundtrack, yes. Movie, no. Who knows? Anyway, but yeah. Tons of other, of course, my wife grew up, loving the Halloween Town movies from the 90s. And, the Hocus Pocus, so she's the more family-friendly fare, whereas me, I'm the straight-up horror movie stuff. My parents didn't monitor as much as what I was watching, so I could pretty much watch anything I wanted. I was a tortured child. But anyway, so again, I want to know what you guys think here in the comments. Of course, if you didn't get to join us live here, definitely post later on. Let me know what some of your favorites are. If you've seen anything on my list here, what your opinion is. Definitely want to know about that, because, of course, everybody's welcome in the forum. Want to know what you guys are thinking, what you guys are into, whatever else. And, of course, like, share. If you're not Facebook inclined, I'm on YouTube, so share me on YouTube as well. And, get other people in the forum and have them like and follow as well, because, hey, the more the merrier. So anyway, you guys have yourself an excellent week. And next week, well, we got a couple things we can talk about. Ending of She-Hulk was interesting, wasn't it? Got a lot of people talking. So maybe I'll get the Maybe get the ladies back here and we'll talk some more She-Hulk. So anyway, so we'll see what happens there. But you guys have yourselves a wonderful week, and I will see you next time on the Fanatic Forum. Take care. Bye-bye.